What's going on, folks? I said it twice on the timeline, so if you're tuning in, I said going live, and then I said talking birds, Eagles football. We're here. We're back. Day late, usually on Wednesdays, but we had some conflicts come up. Things happen, but we're here. We're ready. We're ready to roll, and yeah, I mean, this offseason just keeps rolling on. It never ends with Howie Roseman. He rides the waves of free agency. So we got our couple top guys, and then you see a couple of those depth signings come into play. And I feel like people aren't really sure what the vision is until it starts to really come together. I think you're going to see that in the coming weeks, months, whatever the case is. I mean, months for Howie. He doesn't stop until August. So let's roll right into it. What do we got?
Hey, that's right with Howie. Until that final preseason game's over, he's going to keep making moves. And he's always thinking about it. So definitely opportunities to expand and improve the team. So yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. And last week we were talking, and it just seemed like Slay. I mean, it seemed like Slay was gone, but now it's Bradbury and Slay running it back. So I mean, that's
right back.
So it just depends how things go, and you also never know with these things. I think they wanted to keep CJ back, and then that kind of fell through, and we're going to get into that a little bit more, but they're building this team, and they definitely have a plan in mind, and I think it's adjusting the defense to whatnot. But I feel really confident because that we're prioritizing D-line, of course, and I think we're putting ourselves in a really good position heading into the draft with a ton of flexibility.
Right. I agree. I've been talking about it all week about going into the draft, and I'm sure on future shows we'll talk more about the draft. But man, that 10th pick just looks like anything you do there is going to be a luxury. You have talent. Like you aren't going to pick a safety or a linebacker, and we were just talking about it. Guys like Nick Morrow and Justin Evans, these aren't starter level guys, but they provide some depth, they provide some competition so that they give you some flexibility in the sense of, if they have to play snaps, that might come down to it. At the end of the day, you don't really have to reach for a player. And that's what Howie does really well, is that he goes out and he plugs every hole. So you're like, well, if he has to play a couple snaps or if he has to start, it's not the worst situation, right? So maybe not the specific players that we have already, but eventually they're going to get players at every position to the point where you're going to say, wow, at these first round, second round, third round picks, you could pick guys that you might not see for a year like they did last year, with Cam Jurgens and Nakobe Dean. Even Jordan Davis was in a rotation. So Howie does a really good job at that. He's already starting to build some of that depth with Morrow, with Evans, with
Greedy.
Who was it?
Greedy
Williams, right? That's the big one. That's the guy I'm most high on out of all these depth signings, is a young guy who just didn't stick with his the first team, the team that drafted him, and he was a second round pick out of LSU. There's some pedigree there in terms of the level of school that he went to, his athleticism, his talent. Obviously got him picked in the second round. So there's some untapped ability there that you maybe not as a starter, but you could definitely count on him to come in, make some plays potentially, and match up against those longer players that his body type matches up with. So I'm sure there's some upside to some of the other depth signings that the Eagles have made, but we're just waiting. We're excited for these starters and waiting on them. So we're just patient. We're patiently waiting for that. I couldn't be more excited to see what Howie has up his sleeve.
No, and I think that again, we've kind of said even before this free agency kicked off that we have a really nice core, and that was kind of even before. I mean, we definitely wanted to keep some secondary members, and we did. But just like we have this core, there, we can build around, we can fill the holes. need there. We're not going into this draft with glaring holes. We do have, a few positions we need to keep in mind, but really there is so much flexibility, and anyone we pick, regardless of the situation, we're not really throwing them into the fire, which is kind of an ideal scenario. And sort of what I know you've been saying in our group chat really is, you know, we and I, we kind of said it too, is like we have this flexibility, and a lot of teams, like when you draft someone 10th overall, they got to come in and play,
Right.
and we don't necessarily need that. So
Right.
we're kind of like on that team sort of trade back, because someone's going to need someone to come in, and whoever this is, whether it's a D tackle, D end, safety, they're gonna have to come in and play right away.
Right. Right. That's the luxury we have. I mean, that's a luxury that a team coming off of a Super Bowl appearance or just a great season in general, that usually meet like teams that pick in the top 10, like you said, they have holes where you're drafting a guy there that needs to start day one.
Yeah.
The Eagles could pick a starter if they go Bijan Robinson. That's a luxury, but it's also a luxury to pick a rotational defensive edge rusher in the top 15 of the draft. Usually you pick one of those guys and he's your best edge rusher. If the Eagles picked an edge rusher at 10, or if they trade back and get one, he's in a rotation behind three guys: Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham, and even Derek Barnett coming back from an ACL injury. So, like,
you take it away. You keep going for a minute or two. I got to do something at my door. You go.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yes. So Steve's got a situation. If you're tuning in with me, I appreciate it. It's going to be just me for a second, but he's got someone coming to work on his internet today. So it was we're already moving things around to get this show going. But yeah, like I was saying, I put out a video earlier this week on Twitter, and a lot of people responded very positively to it because they understood what I was saying, and I appreciated that. It was really all about just the fact that drafting any player for the Eagles in the top 15, even if they trade back, their first selection is going to be a luxury. A lot of people call a running back a luxury pick. So you think about, well, isn't a top 15 prospect as a backup also kind of a luxury? The Eagles have the house. They've bought the house. They have running water. They have working toilets. They have electricity. They have, TVs set up. They have some electronics. They have a stove, a dishwasher, a washer and dryer. The Eagles have their house filled. Now, what do? They want to add a pool in the backyard, a luxury. They want to get the carpets ripped up and put nice wood floors in, real nice, finished stained wood floors, a luxury. You know what I mean? They want to get a finished basement with a movie theater set up. That's a luxury. The Eagles have the house. They have all the pieces you need. They have every piece of furniture. They have everything. They might be able to plug in an old love seat, hand me down, and still get away with it. Maybe at linebacker, at safety. They might be relying on a couple young pieces that we're not sure of right yet. A new video game console that nobody's ever heard of, right? Some of those young guys that aren't proven, but at the end of the day, they have the core, they have the foundation. They're not building anything really. They're adding to what they've already built. Steve had to disconnect here, so I got to go one box. Let me adjust this. So, like I was saying, now this is just going to be like me talking to whoever's listening. I hope you're listening. But if not, maybe catch the video on the backswing when it uploads. But yeah, it's we're building this house to perfection. The foundation is already there. So now you want to add value. Let Howie have fun with that first selection. If it's Bijan Robinson, if it's JSN, to play slot receiver, how many teams have a slot receiver at 10 overall, 15th overall pick? How many Super Bowl teams come up and they're like, man, the only real starter we need is a running back. Let's go get Bijan Robinson. Like, imagine that. That puts you in that your offense is already top 3 in the league. So it's like, how do you argue with that? How do you say that that any position is off the table, really. The only positions to me that are off the table are positions that you can't get the guy on the field with that top pick in the draft. A position like O line, I think you can get O line depth later. You can sign O line depth if you really need it. You don't need a 10th overall backup offensive tackle with no real end in sight for Lane Johnson. I mean, he could play another 2, 3 years. Jordan Mailata is young. They don't need to go out there and get an offensive tackle with that top pick, because having a backup first round tackle like we had Andre Dillard is a luxury, unless it's a situation like that where the guy just didn't pan out, and that's unfortunate. Another thing with drafting that, same with corner. You have Darius Slay and James Bradbury, according to their deals, for another 2 years. So you have a situation where these two guys, they have to start. They have to start. They have to start for 2 years, right? So what does that mean for a cornerback? Well, he has to come in. He's going to sit. He's only going to play in case of an injury, or he'll have to learn the nickel spot, which isn't really like, you don't draft a nickel corner in the first round, or especially in the top 10. If the guy ends up being a nickel corner, I mean, you better hope he's like the best nickel corner ever if you pick him that high. So you just don't do this. So he's going to sit unless somebody gets injured. And that is a huge lot to have Christian Gonzalez as your backup corner. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? He's going to start day one for a team. The problem with the Eagles is that they don't have a lot of those start day one. So having that high pick, you could look at it as like, man, it's kind of a waste. Like, they don't have anyone's going to come and start day one. So you really have to be tactical about how you pick that. You want immediate impact and you want something for the future, but you can't have it on one side too much. You can't have it too much of a future pick. You know what I mean? Like, because then you think about 2 years down the line when you're like, okay, Darius Slay, he's done. Let's get him out. And we got to put Christian Gonzalez in, or Devin Witherspoon, or whoever. The guys spent 2 years in the NFL barely playing. If Slay and Bradbury stay healthy, let's just say that. Hasn't got a lot of reps. Wasn't a starter. So now you're like, well, this guy has like a year to prove to me that he's worth an extension. Because if he stinks this year, then we probably let him play next year. And if he stinks then he's done. Or he's good in his third year, like really good, and you're like, oh man, now do I sign him? And then what if the next year he regret? Like, there's so many complications of it, because letting a rookie sit on the bench for 2 years, you're not giving him the proper experience to develop and really prove himself to you. And then you're saying, hey, go prove yourself. And in that next 2 years on his contract to pick up the 5th-year option, whatever, there's a little more flexibility with first-round picks. Well, you're in a sticky situation in that case. So, like I said, that the top pick in the Eagles draft, the Howie Roseman set this thing up already. And then free agency and trades aren't over, but he set this thing up already with bringing back who he brought back and having who he had in place already. He set this up so that they can mess around and pick a luxury in that with that first pick. I think 30th, you could slide up a little, maybe, stay there, whatever. And then the second round and the third round, that's where you pick your depth or your linebacker or your safety to come in and compete. That's where you pick those guys. You don't do that at 10 or sliding back a few spots. You don't. You have to pick you have to pick a player that's going to come in and contribute this season, because that value, that asset is so valuable. To have that, to come in and be like, look, this guy, we just got the best running back, or we just got the best edge rusher, or one of the best edge rushers to be right in our rotation. Like, we just got one of the best offensive tackles. Yeah, but he's going to sit. So you really need that top pick to be an immediate impact. And I think Howie's setting that up. The bottom line is Howie's setting that up to be able to do that. Now, CJ Gardner-Johnson, we weren't able to get on until now to talk about that. So I'm just going to say a couple quick words about that and move on. Yeah, I mean, the way it went down was he came in knocking on the door for some money, and Howie was giving him one thing, and he thought he was worth more. So he felt a little disrespected by that, and he went out to the market and he bet on himself. And the market told him that you're not worth what these tops Jesse Bates just got. you don't have the rap sheet that he has, the track record of being a team captain and being able to. It's more than just 1 year of play. CJ Gardner Johnson's got great talent, but when you pay a guy $16 million a year, you expect a lot more than just great talent. And and then on top of that, you expect a longer rap sheet. You expect multiple years of top play, not just the 1 year. I mean, and CJ's played well on the nickel. Don't get me wrong; he was great in New Orleans, and he definitely bloomed as one of the top D backs in their secondary, and that's why I was excited for the Eagles to get him. But um, the league told him, like, look, we need to see more. We need to see more of you at safety. We need to see you have an identity. And he took a prove it deal to say, look, I'll show you, and that's fine. I'm hey, go get your value up. You know what I mean? If the Eagles are offering you a long-term deal that you thought you can get more if you take a 1 year, go get your value up. That's no hard feelings at all. I think he was acting a little weird about it on Twitter and acting like people were. I mean, I'm sure he sees a lot of trolls and things like that, so I can't speak on that. But for me, no hard feelings whatsoever. Moving on to the rumors today about Ezekiel Elliott. Now, I haven't really been able to check back in on that, but the last I saw was that he had some sort of interest in 3 teams to pick from to play for, and they're going to have more information at the end of next week. And to me, that sounded like the teams mentioned, the Jets, the Bengals, and the Eagles, all had an offer out for him or all communicated to him that they wanted him. And he was doing the choosing of the 3. And then Lane Johnson tweeted the eyes emoji at him. So I'm like, oh, man, maybe the Eagles are like actually pursuing this guy. And then John Clark dropped the bomb on us. John Clark comes in, says, no, Zeke had just kind of a wish list of teams he wanted to play for. So now I'm kind of thinking that he's either just trying to drive the price up or troll the Cowboys. Adam Schefter usually gets his content from a lot of the players' agents or agencies. And, it's usually to create some sort of hype around the player, drive up a price tag or something like that. So the reports are going to be, up in the air now about what he really wants. But I said potentially Zeke. Brees Hall tweeted, no, sir, I'm good. I mean, I said potentially the Jets. I'm sorry. I said potentially Zeke goes to the Jets. And then Brees Hall said, no, sir, tweeted, we don't want you here. And then the Bengals have Joe Mixon. I'm not sure if they'd be interested, but we'll see about the Eagles. I don't think that I could see a reason they look into it, but to be honest, I mean, I think anyone would say that. Maybe not, but even if it is a cheap deal for Zeke, I'd still much rather prefer just taking Bijan Robinson, who was a top 30 visit for the Eagles, as well as Lucas Van Ness. So that's some noteworthy stuff to talk about as well, other than the silly Zeke rumor. But yeah, I think that what's his name? Blanking on the name now. Bijan. This is tough without another person to bounce ideas off. I can tell you that much. So no, Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson is a. I got a comment. Hold on. Let me read that. Oh yeah, there we go. Nice. Yo, what's up, Nina? Hey, look, first time I've ever shown one on the screen. What's up, Nina? Yeah, just broadcasting myself because my co-host had some technical difficulties. Yeah, so like I said, Bijan Robinson, I'd much rather have him on a rookie deal. I'd much rather have him, um, in the backfield with Jalen Hurts. No, Zeke is solid. I don't think Howie Roseman would have any interest over him any more than he might have interest in Bijan Robinson. I mean, they're doing their due diligence. I think that pick can be a luxury. I really do. I think that pick could be a luxury in the first round, like I said, and that just makes the Zeke stuff even more like and maybe if this was a different year, right? If this was a different year, then I could see them going after a like a veteran pickup back like that. I think what they did already with Rashad Penny kind of just cemented what they want to do at running back in free agency. So I don't know. A Zeke pickup wouldn't really make a lot of sense to me. However, um, I feel like if he really had interest, the Eagles might look into it. But yeah, I mean, the draft is coming up, and I think there's too much out there and too much already on the. I mean, Gainwell and Rashad Penny has injury problems, but Gainwell and Rashad Penny is a solid one too, and Boston Scott has always been productive in his roles. So I don't think they're really in the market. I don't think they're in the market for a another veteran back, whether Zeke is trying to troll or actually has interest or not. So to me, kind of is what it is with Ezekiel Elliott. I'm indifferent about it. I don't really think it's going to happen, nor do I have a huge spot for it. But I'd like to see it. I'd like to see some Cowboys fans pretty mad about Zeke being an Eagle, but it would kind of feel weird cheering for him as a fan from a fan's perspective. But I think Bijan Robinson's definitely my number one desire. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Been going for over 20 minutes now, most of which has been by myself. But I'm gonna wrap this up with the the draft. It Bijan Robinson. I really want. We're about a month, little over a month out from the draft, and I really want Bijan Robinson on this football team. I really do. I want Bijan to come in and rush for 1,300 yards and just be a monster and take our offense to the next level. And with the 30th pick and with later picks, grab a couple D linemen, maybe a safety, another D back, and then use the trade market and free agency to fill in the rest. I really do want that luxury. I don't think the Eagles will though. I think they will pick defensive line, and I'm okay with that too. Maybe a trade back or something of the sort, but they'll definitely pick a trenches pick, in my opinion, on the D line specifically, so they can get the guy on the field making an impact. Be crazy to have a top edge rusher, in that rotation. I'd absolutely love it. Or if you can get your hands on, um, a D tackle that you really like, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm rooting for the shocker, the big surprise, the Bijan Robinson. The irresponsible spend on running back out of selfishness, out of my own desire. But we'll see what happens. Draft is a long way away, but these free agency moves that are relevant now are going to be relevant to the draft. So it's good we could cover all that and kind of tie it all together. It's the best part of the offseason is tying the whole story together and seeing what you come up with. And the Eagles have some unfinished business next season. And, I know they wouldn't have signed Darius Slay and James Bradbury and Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. And these guys aren't coming back to, for a rebuild or to wait around. They want to win now. And how he's going to do that, how he's going to make moves that are win now. So that's another reason that I think that a lot of the pickups in free agency and some of these draft picks are going to be win now moves. And we just have to wait and see how much he can do. 13 million in cap space right now, chock full of assets, 2 second rounders next year, 2 firsts this year. It's going to be a lot of moves to be made. And this roster will come together and look the way, we feel comfortable about come September, but got a long way till then. So tune in next week. We'll probably have it on the regular day on Wednesday night. Give me a follow if you want to subscribe. I mean, look, we're doing this just so people can watch it pretty much whenever they want, but mostly the views come from the Twitter, and I doubt anyone's sitting there watching for 25 minutes. So really, this is just for fun. If you tune in, I appreciate it. If not, I know my dad watches a lot of these episodes. It's cool. If you're watching this one, Dad, what's up? But other than that, yeah, First show I've ever hosted, pretty much just by myself the whole time, and gotta love every second of it. Makes your mind start wandering and you space out. So maybe if I do it like this next week, I'll do a good job. Maybe I'll clean it up a little, have a script ready, but other than that, yeah, not much more to say. Just see how Howie pulls this whole thing together and how this team's going to look. And tune in next week. Fly Eagles fly.